Good evening and welcome back to the weird and the wonderful with Strange Bones. Hope everybody is having a wonderful evening. Memzo, welcome. So we are going to be carrying on with our theme for the night. Hey Jana. But along with, we also have
Oh my god.
a little story for everybody. Hey Maureen. So as we get going, I'm going to remind everybody that on this channel, one of our things is that we have just one rule, and the one rule is don't be rude. As long as you are not rude, it's all good. You can comment, you can agree, you can disagree, all of the good things that go along with, but we do insist that you're at least polite, and rudeness gets the boot. But that said, thank you ever so much for the likes. I do appreciate it. Gonkop. Thank you. Donkey Baya. So, before we begin with the live, an interesting thing occurred in our house here. And it's been going on for a while, so you must definitely give some opinions on what you think the situation is or what to do about it. Many thanks for those likes. And remember guys, we run the channel based on your good graces, so hellos.
Hello.
How are you?
It's gonna be fixed.
So you're just in time for story time.
How are you? Oh, are you
I'm
back?
good, yes. So this
I was
is,
worried you weren't gonna come.
well, I was a little late starting up because I was finishing up on my language lesson that I do every evening. So
Oh, I see.
yeah, I'm teaching
Oh,
myself a couple.
Oh, what are you learning?
Portuguese and Romanian.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I think it'll be a good one. Hopefully. I'm not very good at it.
You'll
What?
get better. I can join your live if you like.
Well, either or. It works great for me either way. You are most welcome on the live. We always appreciate having a partner on the live. So, hey, it
Okay,
works
cool.
for me. So absolutely.
Okay, cool. I'll join you just now then.
So we need to, before we start our proper live, we need to go through a little bit of a backstory to get your opinion.
Oh, okay.
So you need to understand, in our house there are 6 people, 4 of
Yeah.
which are the youngsters. So very often, of course, your Wednesday. Check the comments.
Oh yeah, I see that a lot of people.
That's awesome. Não falei português. É só uma padece. Mas do Brasil. Endless Thoughts is asking which Portuguese I'm learning to speak. So the point of the story, so to speak, is there's a number of people in the house, and they're obviously all very technologically focused, and they like their games and all. So often we'll sit up late at night playing games. I generally end up going to bed before them. And there's a standing joke in the house that there's a ghost in the TV. Because for reasons nobody has ever understood, ever since the TV was bought years ago, it turns on, it turns off, it scrolls through things, it does stuff on its own. So
Oh, shit.
it's like a joke. And we always sort of really thought that it's just one of those technological things, you know, it's not real.
Mm.
Or so we thought.
Oh, shit.
So it escalated. Thank you so much for the likes there, Endless Thoughts. So basically, what happened is sometimes, because I often wake up at night and I'll hear somebody walking around the house. But my automatic assumption, of course, it's one of the youngsters wandering around. They're, you
Oh,
know,
God.
they play games and then they'll go make a cup of coffee or whatever,
Oh, my God.
come back, you know. So I ignore it because if anybody tried to come in, we've got dogs on the property, they would go nuts. They always do. So we would know if somebody came in. So the other night, I woke up maybe around 3 o'clock in the morning and I hear somebody get up and they walk down the passage. They go to the bathroom where they are quite noisily sick. They then flush the toilet, go to the bathroom, and I can hear it because the bathroom's not far from my
Yeah.
room. I hear them turn the tap on and wash their mouth out, and they're coughing a bit. And they turn off the tap. So I did nothing, of course, because one of the kids maybe was feeling unwell or something. But in the morning,
Yeah.
I get up, and of course, as you would expect, I says to them, so, the first one up was one of the girls, and I'm like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, no, I'm fine, but I heard somebody get up and was sick last night. Then one of the guys gets up, and he's like, well, it wasn't me. So we're like, oh, well, it must have been that one or that one. Okay. Then the other two get up, and they're like, oh, wow, we woke up last night, we heard somebody get up and was sick. Who was it? And we're like, hold on a minute. You're all asking? This
Jeez.
isn't right.
That's very weird.
So I'm like, well, hold on a minute, Leo. Just want to check here. It wasn't you. Now, I know it was none of the others because we're all asking who it was. So you're the last one up and it wasn't you. So who got up in the night? And they're like, none of us. When you went to bed, meaning me, we were like, not long after. So we're like, hold on. So somebody got up in the night, none of us, went to the toilet and was sick, and then went to the bathroom and cleaned up. But it was nobody that stays in the house. And none of the dogs woke up and barked. So now we're starting to think, hold on, do we have a sick ghost?
Wait, okay, where did you say you got the TV from?
Well, I'm not really sure. Geez, it was a while back. I mean, it's about what, guys, 10 years old? More than 10 years old, yeah. The guys are here in the room with me. So more than 10 years ago.
Did you
And
get it secondhand? Or?
Yes.
Oh, you see, could be anything.
So
No.
what are we to do about? No, you see, definitely wasn't sleepwalking because everybody's in a shared room, which means if one person got up, then the other one would have woken up and known.
Jeez, that's crazy.
So everybody has sort of confirmed that, no, if they woke up and heard it too, but the other person in their room was with them, so it wasn't them.
Yeah, it was nobody.
So,
Jeez,
and we
that's
all
crazy.
agreed it definitely wasn't the person with us. Therefore, it must have been one of you. And they're like, it definitely wasn't one of us.
Oh,
And
that's
they,
gonna great.
it couldn't have been like one of the dogs got in the house or something walking around because we heard the toilet flush, we heard the tap turn on and
Hmm.
off.
Yeah, I can do that.
So
Oh,
either we've got some hidden psycho living in the roof that we don't know about, just to add to the
Mr.
fun and
Jones.
games, or we have a sick ghost in the house.
Well, I suggest you check the roof, the ceiling, if it's living in there. 'Cause you never know. You hear a lot of horror
Well,
stories about people having
that was my thought, and
experience.
then it was reminded we've just had the roof fixed. So we've had workers over that because it was leaking a bit to do repairs and everything.
They would have seen.
So if anybody was, they would have been seen. So the only logical remaining answer is we have a ghost in the house. It
Oh shoot.
and it does indeed go bump in the house, as Endless Thoughts is saying. So it's not sleepwalking. We ruled that out for certainty. Nobody could have come in without alerting the dogs because they're very quick to bark. And they didn't, they were dead silent.
Huh.
So we
Oh.
have a ghost in the house, and currently it's an unwell ghost.
Yeah, it's probably not. It's messing with the TV. Probably it's not actually the TV that's causing the problem.
Well,
So maybe that.
this is the thing, like you say.
The only thing you can do is anoint the house.
Well, the other weird thing is when I moved into the house here with everybody, that was one of the things I did.
Oh,
So technically,
something must have
anything
happened.
anything bad would have gone.
Yeah.
So maybe
Maybe it's not.
it could be a friendly ghost.
Yeah, maybe it's not an looking like mean.
But how do ghosts get sick?
I don't know. It's kind of weird. Maybe somebody before you was ill and that well died, and they were sick before you moved into the house. Somebody who owned the house was maybe a sickly person.
I don't know, but the weird part of it is that it's always been associated with the TV.
Yeah.
And recently something went wrong with the TV and it broke. So the TV is
Oh.
now totally dead.
And then the ghost became sick.
Well, it seems that the ghost has come out of the TV and has become
No.
sick because the TV is broken.
Oh no.
So all the guys that are listening here in the room, they're all laughing because none of them know what to say. So what
Yeah, I mean,
advice?
gosh, I don't know. Anoint the house again. It's the only thing I can think of. Or just
What,
make friends with it.
it's never
Well,
harmed anyone. It's never done anything. It's just around, you know.
yeah, it's just weird. So maybe you can just like live with it and be like make friends with the ghost.
It's chill. It's never caused any problem. It's hung around the TV for the
Yeah.
most part.
Yeah, I mean it's not an issue. I mean it's just interesting to have around, a new housemate that occasionally gets ill.
Well, the other weird thing is, before we moved here, we had the TV. And the same things happened before with the TV. So it's definitely the TV. That's where the thing is.
Oh, and then once the TV broke, it kind of left
It
the
came
TV
out.
and
So we
huh.
throw it to the comments there. It's almost certainly a ghost, which is really cool given that, well, this is Strange Bones, Weird and the Wonderful.
It
And
was really cool.
instead of having to go out to find strange things, it's come and found me.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, if it's not bothering you, I wouldn't worry about getting rid of it.
No, nobody's worried, I must admit. By and large, it's there and it don't cause trouble. So, no issues. But there you go, I have a haunted house.
That's really cool.
So yeah, I had
Nice.
to share that with you guys because after all, I mean, come on a channel like this, how can I not?
No, that's pretty brilliant, honestly. I wouldn't mind having a spook, but a nice one. Mind
Yes, a
you,
nice one.
I don't know. Don't know if it would do me very good having spooks in my house.
Well, there's a guy I follow on YouTube that does. He goes around. He's in America. He goes around all the graveyards and what have you, and he's got one of these weird apps on his phone that allows the ghosts to speak.
Oh.
And in the last video I watched, he's cheerfully wandering through some graveyard at night, and he's like, "Hello, it's spirits. It's me. Is anyone there?" And the phone comes up. "We're right behind you." And I don't think he was expecting it because uh, as it says it and he clicks to what's just been said, he's like, "Oh
Right
shit."
behind you. Yeah.
Of course, he
I'd
spins
freak out a
round
little
and
bit.
there's no one there.
Yeah, well, you won't be able to see them, but they're probably right face to face with you. You don't even know it.
Well, this is
Breathing in
it.
your.
And then on the thing, it came up with, "I'm Cindy. I'm following you." So he sort of
Oh,
looks around a bit and he spots a gravestone off to the one side of him, and the person buried there was called Cindy.
jeez.
I don't know if it's fake or real. I mean,
Yeah,
but
but still, the idea is kind of
it
cool.
was pretty cool. And
That would
I'm
be
like,
fun to do.
well, this is it. I'm thinking that I'm gonna see if I can figure out what app he's using
Yeah, and go
and
walk around
try and
graveyard.
download it. Because I mean, come on, wouldn't you like to be able to chat with
Yeah,
them?
for sure, for sure. I
But
always
only
wondered
at the
about
right
it.
time.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I'd definitely do that.
Yeah, I think we need to do some research into modern ghost apps and see what's out there and what people say works.
Yeah.
I mean, look, there's a lot of stuff I've seen that I really think is just AI rubbish. I
Yeah.
mean, to be fair,
There's. But it'd be cool to find something that's real.
right? I mean,
I
wouldn't
just
you?
wouldn't.
You just
Yeah. I
wouldn't.
just. I just wouldn't mess around with Ouija boards and things like that because that nothing good ever comes of that stuff.
Well, somebody once said to me, which I think was a very reasonable comment in that regard, that Ouija boards are a lot like firearms.
Yeah.
They're good, they're useful, they do a job, but you don't hand it to somebody who doesn't know how to use it because they can seriously hurt themselves.
Yeah, that's true too.
And it made sort of sense to me. You know,
Yeah.
there are things that unless you're trained you shouldn't do
Yeah, for sure.
because
But yeah.
yeah, it makes sort of sense. But at the same time, I think that, I mean, there are definitely things out there. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people say no, science has never proved any of it. Well, science
Well,
doesn't know everything. We know
I
that.
have I have an interesting story.
Go for it.
My dad grew up in Durban, in the middle of Durban, somewhere where? Can't remember exactly where, but anyway, in town.
Okay.
Anyway, and in Umbilo,
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
what happened is he lived there with my gran and my grandmother, and then my step grandfather. It's like my
Okay.
dad's stepdad. Now, when my dad was little, the house was haunted by his uncle because,
Okay.
and the story is he would tell me that very often they'd be in a lounge together, and then a very strong scent of roses would like fill the room, and then the dog would start. And they had a little poodle, and the dog would start crying and howling and running around the house. And very
Okay.
often at times, my dad would be sleeping, and he'd wake up, and he would hear somebody say to him, like whisper to him, "I'm waiting uh, for your mom," or whatever, talking to him, and not and it was kind of weird.
I don't want to be
And he
waited for by a ghost. Throwing it out
no, but
there.
yeah, he's waiting for my grand to pass away. The
Okay.
story was because when she passed away, eventually, the ghost disappeared. So he was just waiting for my grand to pass away to go with him. That was
Well,
crazy.
I will add a story that will support yours. So, oh, huge thanks to Endless Thoughts for the gifties there. I appreciate that very, very greatly. So thank you very much. And for all the likes that are going on, 1.9 already. Well, here's a story for you. So I was living in Richmond. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're not from South Africa or don't know KZN, basically if you go from Pietermaritzburg up through to Joburg on the freeway,
Yeah, no, Richmond.
along the way it's one of the very small towns.
Yeah.
So very nice rural sort of place, but there was a very, very old house there that had been in the same family for around 300 years. And they've always lived there. But at a point, the latest family turned it into a restaurant. And I got to say, very nice restaurant. Really good food and yeah, very popular. I mean, it's this
Yeah.
beautiful garden area because you're right out on the farms. And if you know the Midlands, you know it's very beautiful and green and all the rest of that. So, lovely place to go to. And I went to there and I was sitting outside, and their best thing of all was their scones. They did seriously good scones with
Oh,
cream
nice.
and jam and all the rest of it. So I used to go up once in a while and have coffee and scones. Great stuff. And you sit in the
Right.
garden, beautiful sunshine, all the trees giving shade, and you know. And I realized after a while, very often, I would see this old couple standing on the porch of the house, smiling at everybody. And I never
Oh,
really
wow.
thought of anything because, obviously they're the old people. And they'd often be hand in hand. It was very sweet.
Yeah.
And they'd watch people, but they never interacted. They're obviously happy together. And then they'd wander inside. And I never thought anything of it. Why would I? And then the one day, the owner came over because now I told you I was a journalist, and I used to
Yeah.
write one of the newspapers for the Midlands area. It was my own. And when I was writing it, I would do reviews of places as well sometimes. And I put an advert in for the owner of this restaurant to, spread the word a bit, help them get some more business in from the Maritzburg area and what have you. And so I got to know the owner, who was a young lady, her and her husband that ran the place, very nice. And she came over when I was sitting there having scones one day, and she was chatting, and she says, and of course, there's a very long history to the house. And I'm nosy, so I'm like, well, tell me the history. Well, been in the family around 300 years or whatever. Originally, it was the farmhouse for what was the Richmond farm, which is now it's just the house and a
Yeah.
small property, and Richmond's become a village. But back in the day, and it was owned by the great great grandfather who died in the house with his wife. And it was amazing because they were known in the area as being so incredibly in love. They were really, really happy together. Very sweet story. And they always said they liked nothing more than to spread happiness. And they were that sort of a people. And I thought, well, that's
Oh,
really nice. And she said, oh, yes, we've actually got a painting of them in the house, and you can go and see them. It's on the wall on the one
Oh,
side. So I thought, well, that'll be nice. I'll go and take a photo of it and put it in the article. So I walk inside, and there in the painting are the little old man and woman that I often saw on the porch.
oh, wow,
And
that's
I'm like,
crazy.
hold on, wearing
Yeah.
wearing the same clothes in the picture as they did. And then I realized, hold on, the clothing was kind of old fashioned now that I think about it. And I'd seen
That's
them like
freaky.
5 or 6 times and never thought anything of it. And
That's
I was like,
crazy.
okay, do I tell her? Do I just shut up and leave it? And they are there and they're
Yeah.
happy. They've never moved on.
Oh, but that's okay. I mean, they're happy. Clearly, it's a good thing.
Spooky wants to join as a guest. I don't actually. Oh, no, he
uh,
can't do it while co hosting, but maybe if he starts a live, he can triple co host.
or I can go and we can just join your regular live. That works.
Well, whatever works for everybody else.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah,
be
we can do
easy.
that. Okay, let's.
Easier that way.
All
Yeah.
right. Spooky,
Okay.
give us a moment. We're going to pop out and give you all both an invite.
Okay.
Cool,
We'll
cool.
see you in a minute.
Awesome. So, yeah, all you guys in the comments, what do you think? Do you think that sometimes the ghosts are around? Do you think that they are part and parcel of our everyday life?
Hi, how's it going?
How's it? How's it? How are you doing?
I'm good. So, yeah, so you've been talking about ghosts in
Um,
your house.
well, it was a story just to connect to Mickey's story, but the original one was based on I have a ghost in my house now.
Yeah,
And yeah,
no,
it's
the
apparently
entire
sick.
story. I was with Mickey. I was on her live listening
Oh, okay.
to your ghost story. Yeah.
So yeah, it's apparently a sick ghost. I didn't know ghosts could get sick,
Yeah.
but apparently they do.
That's pretty creepy.
It is kind of cool though. But but yeah, we weren't supposed to be doing ghosts tonight, so we've got another whole thing lined up. But given that it happened, I mean, I had to share with you guys. So what
Yeah,
about
no,
you? Mickey's had a good story. Spooky, have you got a good story
About ghosts.
that you yourself experienced?
No, no, nothing that I can think of. Nothing abnormal.
Well, I will leave you with a final ghost story before we go on to the
excuse
normal
me.
live. So, growing up in school, I had a friend, and we've been friends now for nearly 32 years. Good grief. So, we've been friends right through. We still are. But now, his dad was an utter atheist and a complete. If I can't touch it, it's not real. He did not believe in anything spiritual. He always claimed that he didn't even believe people have a soul. He said that's rubbish. You can't prove it. So he was one of those kind of guys, and very practical. He was an electrician, so he dealt with doing things, making things. That was his sort of his thing, if you will. But didn't believe in anything that you couldn't pick up or put down. Anyway,
Electrician or engineer?
Electrician.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
because a lot of engineers
yes,
wants to be atheists, or
yes,
self-proclaimed atheists.
that's true. So anyway, they moved before they moved to the house they were in while he was in school with me. Um, they had they had to move up to the Hillcrest waterfall area in the KZN, so that he, my friend, could go to school where I went to school, where I met him. And so they looked for a suitable house. And they found one actually in Cato Ridge, which is not terribly far away. And a good price as well, very good price. So, no problem. He organized all their stuff, brought it up, moved it into the house, was about to bring the family up into the house, but they were staying at some family while the moving was done, and he was organizing it, and he went and spent the night in the house because all their stuff was now in, and then he was going to come down the next day, fetch them, bring them up. So the next day he came down, gathered up the family, the wife, kids, what have you. They move into this new house out on a farm in Cato Ridge. I never found out which house it was, though I did try to because I wanted to go see. And they were there one night, and there were weird noises and things. Anyway, the next morning, he gets up. He says, "Listen, either there's rats or something, or somebody's trying to break in. I'm sending you back down to the family, and I'm going to lay down traps and poison, and I'm going to get the place fumigated, because I'm not having you in a house where there's issues like this." So he dropped them off in the morning. He goes back. All of a sudden, now, he had driven up to put in whatever to do fumigation and trapping and what have you. He had gone up with my friend, who sat in the car because his dad didn't want him, because he was young, didn't want him near poison and stuff. So his dad walks in the house, and about half an hour later, he comes sprinting down the driveway, full speed, none of the stuff, jumps in the car, grabs my friend who was standing next to the car, throws him into the passenger seat, and takes off at like full speed down these dirt roads. Won't say anything. Arranges, okay, even though he didn't have much money because he had just moved up and he was starting his business up again, paid for a team of guys to go in and gather all the stuff out. Okay, which was totally unlike him, and refused to go back into that house ever again. Never would admit to why.
Must have been bad.
I don't know, but he wouldn't speak of it. He refused to admit it ever happened. But for a guy that I literally saw him stand up to 3 guys that tried to attack him the one day at the shop and try and rob him, and he kicked their asses. He was not afraid. He would take you on.
Oh, sure.
And whatever was in that house, and he was the only one in the house that we could tell, scared him so badly that he fled and refused to go back even for their stuff. He sent somebody else in to fetch it.
So, it's crazy.
So what might be out there?
It'd be interesting to know what freaked them out like that.
You know, and he wasn't a believer in anything spiritual. He just wasn't. But whatever it was, it freaked him so badly.
Oh, craziness.
And I mean, my friend and I, we discussed it for years as to what it could have been or why, but he wouldn't tell. Refused. He went and found another house that was more expensive, moved in there, and he would have nothing to do with the original.
Well, one thing's for certain. It's a bad memory.
I tell you what, I mean, literally, I knew him 15 years before, 20 years before he died. And he would not ever speak of, he even denied that they ever went to Cato Ridge. He just denied it flat. Yeah. We
Really?
went straight to
He doesn't want to be reminded by whatever it was.
whatever it
Yes,
was that bad. He said, no, we went straight from where we were down by Pound Town to Waterfall. That was it. Like, no. So apparently. So here's the thing for you both, especially, because I know you're always on, and for anyone else listening. We're going to do the follow-on for the next step in our life. So we did Zulu witches. We're tonight going to do Anglo-Saxon witches. But tomorrow, Spooky wants to talk about AI. So we're going to do a break in the normal theme. Well, it's nice to do a break and then carry on. I figure it will be nice. So we'll do an AI one.
Done yet. For instance, superheroes.
That's
a thing to put on the list.
What? Real life superheroes? Like,
Is it possible, especially after we've done the idea of modified DNA and genetics and mutations? I'm going to make a note of that right now. We're going to add that on. But we do need to have the AI discussion.
I mean, a lot of superheroes are aliens, like Superman.
That is a good point, actually.
I really like heroes like Batman and Iron Man who make their own kind of.
Well, actually, that's a good point, and maybe connected to AI, because Iron Man, quite especially, is it's technology. Is that possible?
Well, I've developed my own Jarvis, which is probably better than Tony Stark's Jarvis.
Well, you're going to have to help. We'll do that tomorrow night then. So bring all of your stories, and we'll see what we can do to give as many questions and ideas as we can. And is it good? Is it bad? Is it frightening?
My Jarvis is only a large language model, so it's not connected to robotic arms and stuff.
That's a pity.
Or an Iron Man suit.
Well, could it be?
It could be.
Well, we will talk about it then.
The Tesla robot, Tesla the car, which
Yes.
is actually a robot.
Well, Mickey, you sent me a video the other day of the latest car that can do self-driving. It's got all this weird dashboard shit going on and strange things, and I got to be honest, I actually said to Mickey, I wouldn't get in that car. I'd be afraid it would eat me or something. I mean, it does everything for you. You can literally tell it, take me to school, and it will drive you there.
Yeah, you don't even have to.
I don't know, that's getting to a level of freaky I'm not entirely...
No, it's got its voice command, obviously. When you just climb in and you talk to it like you would talk to a normal person and just tell them where you want to go. It will deliver you.
And it connects up to all your related app devices. So, because it's connected to the Apple iPhone, I believe. So you can use your phone to drive the car.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. People
Yeah.
go
No,
cool.
I've seen people. They stand outside the shopping mall and they
Call,
call their
call their
car.
car to come and fetch them. Can you
Yeah.
imagine what the car guard in this country would do if this car suddenly drove off and went and fetched somebody?
I think it would go well.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's a few of them here because Elon Musk's father stays there in Pretoria, and I'm pretty sure he would have a
Yes,
Tesla. Why not?
yes, he does. Well, Elon Musk is a South African, so
Yeah.
I never thought of that, but you're dead right.
But I think the one I sent you hasn't been released yet. The
The
don't think it has.
BMW.
Yeah, we're talking about it hasn't been released that one yet, so I'm not too sure.
But still,
No, they said pretty soon, in a few years, all cars will be self-driving cars, and kids born today are going to wonder, like, did people really drive these things around by hand?
I wonder, because they said the same about electric vehicles, and that one went down like a lead balloon. I know they keep trying, but they haven't got it right.
Well, haven't you seen the Tesla?
I have, but it would be utterly useless in this country because not a
Yeah.
single garage that I've ever seen has got a electrical port.
I was on Google Maps, and I wasn't even searching for places to charge my car. I don't have a
No.
electric car, but I saw a couple in my area where you can just
Okay.
stop by and charge your car.
Okay. I wonder how fast it charges though, because I mean, if I need petrol, 15 minutes, I go get a full tank and I'm on my way again. But you can't really do that with electricity, can you?
No, not as quickly as just putting up your car with fuel. It does take a half an hour at least.
Yeah, so I would see issues in that regard. I don't know. It's an interesting thought. But yeah, let's make a note of that one for this further discussion. Shall we call it robotics of the future?
Sure.
Because I've seen a few.
Yeah, so here's Johannesburg.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see this, but these are charging stations.
Okay. That's a lot more than I thought.
Yeah,
That's cool.
and it looks like they're owned through Mercedes-Benz charging stations,
Okay.
Grid car charging stations, and Chargify's charging stations. So there's a whole bunch of them.
I think
Just
it'll
right here in
be
my area.
quite a long time before they get to the outerlying regions.
I'll be right back.
Cool, cool. My biggest concern really is, given the incredible reliability of HCOM, you know,
Yeah, I'm sure everybody in this country worries about that. They can't buy an
Exactly.
electric car.
I mean, that right away would make me go, yeah, I'm not getting an electric car. I want mobility. So there's a certain amount of discussion, though, I saw on what they call clean biofuel. So it still works like a petrol tank, but it doesn't use petrol. It uses a plant-based biofuel.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard something similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works. I think they boil it and they actually use it like a steam engine,
Well, from what
or is it
um,
combustion?
it is combustion, but whereas with fossil fuels your byproducts are toxic, these ones, the byproduct isn't toxic. So it's environmentally friendly. And it therefore is a reasonable option so as to not use normal fossil fuel. But I don't know how efficient it is.
And how expensive it is.
That is what, well, I suppose if enough of it was made, potentially, at least, it could be reasonable. I don't know. Look, I really don't know. There's a lot of questions in that regard. So, don't know. But it would be nice to think that we could have a clean biofuel. And I think it would be far more effective than trying to go electric.
Excuse me.
All good.
Yeah. Well, Bill Gates stopped with his nonsense, saying there's no more global warming. Don't be
We've
afraid.
not got any anymore.
And now Elon Musk stood up and said, no, there is global warming and we will all die within 50 years.
Oh, okay, that's nice. I saw a big thing about old Greta Thunberg, where she's been so totally discredited that basically she's like an inch away from arrest if she doesn't shut up.
Yeah. No, she left the whole environment.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
political now.
No, she's fighting Israel.
And why, I don't know. I mean, what does she know about politics
I'm
anyway?
guessing people are paying her. I mean,
Well, they say that she's funded by Hamas.
well, she probably doesn't know it, but I'm guessing somebody pays her.
Well, of course they must do. I mean, how do you go all over the world and do all of these things without any money?
Yeah.
Straight up
So
that.
somebody's funding her, paying her because they probably think she's got a big voice.
And then, of course, that leads you back to who and why. Because nobody gives away money for free.
Yeah.
So, it's a fair question. That said, as I pointed out, we're looking at a more in-depth thing for early witchcraft. And I thought, in counterpoint to the Zulu, why not look at the old Anglo-Saxons? Now, I do need to preface to say that the Anglo-Saxons were not the original inhabitants of Britain, but they took over all of Britain, which means that the original inhabitants we know very, very little about. So we can't talk about them because we just don't know. So the earliest ones that we have decent record of
Are the British today, they are descendants from the Anglo-Saxons?
mostly Anglo-Saxon, with a certain influence from the Normans, a small influence from the Romans, and a partial influence from the Celts.
Okay. But now they are mostly Middle Eastern, or at least in London.
Well, nowadays they're Pakistani, but that's an entirely different thing. Welcome to world politics as you never knew it. Yeah, no, you'll be amazed. I went to London and I wanted. There was a book I read which I really, really enjoyed. Well, several books in a series, and they're all set in a particular part of London. And I thought, listen, I've come to London to visit. I've got to go and see the places. Obviously, I mean, why wouldn't you? And I walked from Battersea to Tooting, and I didn't see a single white face. Not one.
Wow.
I was the odd one out on the street. So, yeah, London is very different these days. Not saying it's good, not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that's how it is.
Okay, so I just searched at London percentage of white people. So it came back and said white British people. So there are more, not just British people, but more white people. And yeah, take a guess.
20%?
Okay, it's more than that. It's 30%.
Not far though. And that for given that it is the capital of Great Britain, that's kind of scary.
Yeah. No, they've lost it.
Yeah, no, they really truly have. Well,
They can't get their country back. They
No.
don't have the voting power.
well, I suppose most of them are illegal, so maybe I don't know. I don't know. I like South Africa. We know what we are, even if we're all weird and different. And we get on, by and large. We do all right. So,
Politics doesn't need to South Africa. There should be a new form of politics.
well, possibly. Though we did do a whole set of lives on the kind of available politics and how they might work. So, anywho, yeah, the people that then came in to Britain were a mix of the Angles, the Saxons, the Jutes, which by and large were Chthonic, and they took over most of Britain from the original inhabitants. Now, the big difference between them and the original inhabitants is that the original ones were very small people. Literally your hobbits, weirdly enough. Remember we spoke about Homo floresiensis?
No.
It was a while back. Basically, it is like it's a new genetic origin for human beings, just like Denisovians are another original thing, but they are the ones from the British Isles. And they average around 3 feet tall, black hair, grey eyes, green eyes. That's who they were. Now, say again?
You said were.
Were, because there's not much of that left in Britain. Because now
They're basically extinct.
by and large, well, or not extinct necessarily, but intermarried and so much with all the others that came over that there's no pure Breton left.
Okay. And they got there before ships was a thing.
Pretty much. They were somehow how they got there. Possibly there was originally a land bridge far enough back, but we're talking very far back. Now,
But it had to be so cold because they're all the way in the north.
Yes. We do know that they never even developed into the Bronze Age much. They were mostly still Stone Age, way back when, for a long time. They never built a boat bigger than... do you know what a coracle is?
Cap.
A coracle. Not a caracal. That's in this country. No, a coracle is basically you make a ring out of sticks, and then you weave sticks in to make a sort of bowl shape, and then you cover it with tightly stitched leather, and that's the biggest boat they had. enough. It would take one, maybe two people.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was mostly for navigating lakes and fens rather than anything else. It was
Saxons
definitely.
get there.
Ah, no, but you see, the Saxons, they were the Chthonic tribes, and they did develop boats, and they developed iron.
Okay.
So they were way more
They
advanced.
succeeded against the Northmen.
The well, okay, the Northmen would occasionally raid, but they never settled. That wasn't their interest. And they only really raided the coasts.
Okay.
It was like a shopping trip. You didn't want to live there.
Yeah.
Whereas the
They had some
Angles,
stuff that the British could make that they couldn't make.
well, free stuff.
They got jealous and they wanted it.
Now,
And I'm guessing that's how a lot of technology disappeared, because that guy, he built something nice, but I want it now. And they killed him before he taught somebody how to build that.
that's very much the case. Now, we do know that, for example, like the Norsemen, the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes were also Chthonic. So, tall, blonde, blue-eyed. So, much bigger than the original inhabitants. We also know that it's very possible that they were not responsible for Stonehenge, that Stonehenge was there before them. But because we know so little about the original inhabitants, we don't know why they built it, or, you see. We do know, however, that by and large, Britain as we know it, so excluding the north, so not Scotland or Ireland, but most of Britain was one big forest. So heavily wooded, big forests, way back when. Okay, this is quite important, because that's how you can see they developed what we can refer to as nowadays as the Druids, whatever they really were. So, coming over, the Chthonic peoples, which we now call the Anglo-Saxons, were influenced by the same groupings as the Vikings. So, whereas the Vikings called their gods Odin and Thor, the Anglo-Saxons called him Woden and Thunor. So there was an influence from that side. We also know that they believed in quite a lot of things, including elves, though they were not quite the elves as we know them from Tolkien at all. Quite a few different spirits as well. And they had a whole collection of, well, I'm going to throw it out and say that by and large they were the same as an Isangoma. It was almost like if you took an Inyanga and an Isangoma and made them into one person. That's what they were, and broadly how they worked. Now, it gets quite interesting from there, because you'll recognize quite a lot of words, which in modern English we've derived right away from the old Anglo-Saxon, and which people have already started to get wrong, because we're people, after all. So, Anglo-Saxon magicians were known as witcher. If you were female, because Old English uses genitive cognate, so the word will have a root, and if it refers to female, it will have a different ending, and if it refers to a male, it'll have a different ending. So a witcher, or a witch, W-I-C-C-E, is feminine, and a witcher is male. And I don't know if you've enjoyed that program on TV, The Witcher. That's literally where it comes from.
Never
So,
watched it.
yeah, so the double C in Old English is a ch. Nowadays they talk of wicker, which is because they can't speak Old English. Pretty much. If you know how it was pronounced, you'd realize there were several sounds that we don't use anymore and several letters we don't use anymore. But you would have found them in the old runic alphabet. So runes were used by the Anglo-Saxons as well, though it was slightly different runes to the Viking runes. So now you have to go back again and realize you have the Germanic runes, which is the 24 Futhark. You have the Nordic runes, which are the 16, because they developed theirs further. And you have the Anglo-Saxon runes, which are the 32. Now, many of them are in common, but then there were extras or less dependent on. So their beliefs involved the witcher, the cunning people. And they were recorded by a number of early missionaries, which was very, very interesting as well. And I think well worthy of knowing, in that we will speak a bit of them. If you could find the Lacnuga or the Lech book, then you would be able to see what was recorded, and you would immediately see parallels with what developed with the Vikings. There were absolutely developments similar there. And once against, what is this thing playing at? You know, the ticking of talking. Ta-da! Yes, we're alive. There we go. Sorted that. So what did they do? Well, they were absolutely healers, just like the Inyanga, and used varying herbs and things, which have been recorded, thank goodness. They also used a number of charms and amulets and things. They also used, interestingly enough, what we would refer to as a voodoo doll, or at least a version thereof. It was called a poppet, but it worked much the same way. So clearly this is a thing in many early magical practices. It's not just from the African perspective. The Europeans did it too. They also had quite... Say again?
Oracle, it doesn't let me see stuff, right?
Okay, you have to be very careful of how you are answering that, because strictly speaking, yes.
It's a Saxon thing, am I right?
No, an oracle is a Greek thing.
Wow.
And the Greek oracles were only for seeing things. Now, the Saxons did have something similar, but they did it through the casting of the runes. And they didn't only do rune casting, and it's connected. Isn't that what?
Shaman uses runes. Or...
A shaman, yes, to a certain degree. But there again, we're using words that don't belong there, because the shaman specifically refers to the Amerindian guys. But in modern English, it's come to refer to any animistic magico healer, if that makes sense. Which isn't strictly correct, because it tends to make you think of certain things that might not apply. So, better to call a proper Anglo-Saxon magical healer as a witch. That's what they were. Either a witcher, if they're male, or a witch, if they're female, which comes from the Old English. We will talk etymology in a moment, but they
A witch
absolutely,
is seen as evil.
in the modern view,
But even when I wouldn't call them a healer, or I wouldn't call
well,
them a witch.
again, because of other cultures. So in South Africa, a witch is evil. In modern England, the witch became evil, but that was created that way by the Christian church, who was trying to stop people worshipping the old religion and convert. So we have a historical, deliberate twisting of meaning. But in the original, a witcher was a wise person, somebody who knew the ways of the weird.
Okay. But isn't a witch applied only to female beings?
I didn't get any of that.
I
Sorry.
asked, isn't a witch only applied to female beings? No.
Witcher is feminine, witcher is male. The root word means a wise person.
So where does the term wizard come from, and why isn't wizard being seen as evil like witches?
Two answers for that. Wizard comes from Europe with the same base meaning as witch, but from a different language. And they weren't seen as evil because they were men and men were in charge, and it became mixed with later mathematical magical systems which were actually used by the church. And the rule is, if the king does it, it's okay, or if the church does it, it's okay. It's if anyone else does it, it's bad. I didn't say it was fair. So
Yeah.
because the king used certain wizards, the wizards type stuff was fine, but the witches were evil and had to die.
Yeah, that's because
Being humans, hard.
Very
Yes.
sexist.
And very sexist, very much so, because that was another problem. Because in the European systems, men were the leaders. In the old...
if women could read, they were most likely a witch.
Yes, absolutely, because nobody could read. The original word for grimoire comes from the French, meaning incomprehensible, because people couldn't read. But the English systems, including the Anglo-Saxon, and in fact the Viking systems, women had a lot of status and power. And that didn't fit the male-dominated Christian system, so it needed to be broken to keep the politics, basically. That was the point.
Christians has evolved a lot compared to, if I have to compare it to Muslims, where they still think it's okay to beat your woman with a stick.
Well, in proper Christianity, if you stick to the Bible, as long as the stick is less than the thickness of your thumb, I am perfectly allowed to beat my wife with a stick. It's in the Bible. It says that's the rule. You can go look it up in Deuteronomy.
Okay, but
So, I'm just
we
throwing
don't
it out
have
there.
like Christian law anywhere around the world, not like Sharia law.
No, we don't. But we used to. And we saw where that went. We had the Crusades. And the conquering of peoples and wiping out of all sorts of things. Religion should never rule. It gets bad.
So Muslims should also, their religion should also evolve a bit more.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
they also want to rule the world. And
But you see, their politics and religion are one thing. No religion should ever rule. Advise, yes, but never rule. Personal opinion. Take it or leave it. But with that, of course, the Anglo-Saxons did have cursing. You had what they referred to as the troll runes, which are a reversal of the runes. And there were specialists, both male and female. So you had your cunning man, and your cunning woman. And both were equal. So absolutely. Now, the first records actually that we have include quite a bit of writing. And as I say, it was the Lacnuga and the Lech book of Bald that really gives us our good stuff. And it was supported by quite a lot of archaeology as well. So there's a reasonable amount of good systems to get info on it. And you can see that as things went along, it became somewhat synchronistic, where you had both the pagan beliefs and the Christian ones blending over time, which was kind of weird. And the church eventually started stamping down on that. Or adapted it. So Christmas, for example, is not a Christian holiday at all. It's Beltane. But they took it on. Samhain was there before Easter. And Easter, in any case, was taken from the old Roman Iostra. So religions take things and grow things, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that will be upset by my saying that, but history is history. There might have been good reasons for doing it like that. I won't deny it. But there you go. So we get the idea in Christianity, older Christianity, where disease was caused by demons, from the Anglo-Saxons, who originally said it was the elf, the alpha, that caused it. So absolutely. We do know that they were polytheistic. So you had Woden, Thunor, and Tiw, which in the Nordic setup was Odin, Thor, and Tyr. We know that there were all kinds of strange spirits that could be a problem for you. Hello, and welcome on, Endless Thoughts. Included things like your elves, your Nikors, the giants, of course, as well. So you can see where it came from. We know that they had a sufficiency of belief in an afterlife, and that you would need stuff when you got there. So they buried their dead with possessions to take with them. But the most important thing, and probably the hardest to understand, was the concept of weird. Now, our modern word weird, W-E-I-R-D, comes from this. But originally W-Y-R-D, and it meant fate. But immediately telling you that, I have to say that that's also wrong. Because what we see as fate in the modern world isn't what they called fate. So in the modern world, if I say, Spooky, you are fated to die tomorrow, essentially in the modern understanding of fate, there's nothing you can do about it. It's going to happen regardless of what. And if you try to change it, the act of trying will lead to your dying tomorrow. So it's a forced thing. With the weird, fate was never a set thing. It was simply the most likely outcome if you do nothing. But there's a number of possible outcomes dependent on how much you try to avoid it, and whether or not you either yourself can manipulate the weird, or if you go to someone who is a sorcerer who will do it for you. So the future is not set, fate is not set, but it's the kind of thing that with enough understanding and power you can manipulate. And so a proper witcher is somebody capable of manipulating the weird. And they explained it like a tree. You start with the trunk, which is the past, up to the point where it's one solid thing where all things have happened. So you can't change the past. But as you progress through the now into the future, you have all the branches. Some of them are big and are most likely. Some of them are small and are very unlikely. But by proper manipulation, I can change the future to go down one of those smaller branches. And with enough understanding, theoretically, I could make it so that it rains only over Endless Thought's head. Because there is a possibility, however tiny it might be, that that would occur. And all I'm doing is making the weird flow down that possibility. So I can't change the weird, but I can manipulate which future we go down to make things go the way I want, dependent how skilled you are. Now, the best description I ever got from it is, it's like sailing. On the sea, you can't control the sea and you can't control the wind. And if I throw you out in a boat, you bob around all over the place, you're taken wherever the wind and the tides take you. If you've got a little bit of skill and maybe a couple of oars, you can manipulate a bit, but not a lot. If you have a decent sail, you can manipulate a lot more, but you're still not changing either the wind nor the rain. But if you're really skilled as a sailor, you can even sail into the wind, because you understand enough of how it flows. And that's the way you manipulate the weird. If that makes sense. So, we know that quite a lot. Say that again.
I actually looked at boats and saw how they actually design boats so they can sail into the wind.
Yes,
how
they
the
do.
wind coming from them actually pushes them forward.
Yes, absolutely. So with sufficient skill, you can do something which logically shouldn't be possible by knowing more than everybody else and having the right tools. And that's exactly the approach of the Anglo-Saxon witch in terms of. Now, we know that there was a lot of Christianity that came in around about 650 onwards, and around that time there was a lot of conversion. Sometimes the conversion was along the lines of, you do believe in Christianity, don't you? Because if not, we're going to burn your house down with you in it and then chop up whatever's left. So it wasn't always nice, but it worked. That was how, things were done. Now, there were a lot of different gods that they had, very similar to the Nordic, if you will. So Anglo-Saxon paganism, it used both religion and magic, which was known as Galdecraft, which, as you can imagine, is exactly the same as the Galdr from the north. Spoken magic. It was spoken, which Galdr means. It did use amulets. It had all kinds of spirits you had to deal with to sort things out. It even used, very interestingly, a form of magic that worked through weaving. And as a result, one of the important tools was a spindle distaff, which we now have as the magic wand. Originally it was a distaff, a spindle, because you could weave magic literally into cloth and therefore create magic cloaks and hidden spells and all sorts, which is really quite cool as well. Men and women of equal importance, absolutely, were used for all kinds of things. If you go back, you realize that the Britannic people were pressed further and further into the north and into the west, and very slightly into the south. And so you had the areas sort of more west than middle, but all the way across to the east, belonging to people like the Saxons. So if you go and look at a map of England, you've got Sussex, which is an area in England. And Sussex, of course, is South Saxony. You've got Sussex, Essex and Wessex, which is South Saxony, East Saxony and West Saxony, where the Saxons were. Snaggus, hello. And he's gone. I knew that was going to happen. Hey. So it was very much a south to middle England thing, where you got all of this. The Celts held Wales, Ireland and Scotland, of course. And down in the south, you had I think it's the Cornish, and they're quite different as well.
These people that you are talking about, they are not that old, they're not ancient, they probably go back as far as 1,000 years, maybe 1,500.
Yeah, I would say 1,500 would be kind of fair.
Mm-hmm.
So the Celts in what we would call the British Isles are there longer, and out of that you get the Irish, the Scottish, the Welsh, the Cornish, the Mancunians and all of those guys.
I'm more interested in somebody else that lived there.
Who?
But you can't help me.
Who are you looking into?
The Neolithic people.
Well, that would have been the early ones, which would have been in the area prior to even the Celts, and would have lived alongside the Celts for quite a long time before the Anglo-Saxons came in and kicked everyone out. And then they got severely beaten by the Normans and the Romans and so yeah.
So you think the Neolithic people were colonized and not died out?
Yeah, a mix of both, I think.
Well, they probably traveled and then came back as the Saxons.
No, they were a very different people. Different in height, different in look, different in culture, different in tools. We know that they, for example, were considered to be elves by the Anglo-Saxons because one of the things that the Anglo-Saxons didn't understand, you could take a minor wound from one of their arrows and even a large, strong warrior would drop dead. And they said you were elf-struck, which in modern English we still talk about having a heart attack as having a stroke. In other words, you're elf-struck. But it's because they didn't realize, because they were not warriors, they were hunters, they would tip their arrows with flint that was poisoned with digitalis, made from foxgloves, and that literally it stops your heart. So a small
They had to be
wound.
very advanced people,
Why?
the Neolithic people. Didn't they build Stonehenge?
They did, but other buildings that they built were very strange and small and underground, which is also why we say elves live in graves, because the Chthonic people buried their dead in underground mounds, but the original Bretons lived in them. So to the superstitious Anglo-Saxons, these elves lived in graves. And because they were not warriors, they were masters at hunting and disappearing into the bush. So they could appear and disappear in quite disturbing ways with weapons that could drop you dead no matter how strong or big you were from an even minor wound. And so they took on a mythic quality. But they were stone.
Neolithic people had magic, or they were inventors, engineers. They were able to create wheels. I don't know, or sledges.
No, there were no wheels at all amongst them, and probably nothing more than rudimentary sleds. But then again, prior to the Anglo-Saxons' arrival, Britain was very solid as a forest. Because the Anglo-Saxons were boat builders and built wooden houses, they cleared a lot of it once they arrived. And they planted... See, the early ones weren't farmers at all. They were hunter-gatherers. But the Anglo-Saxons, they tilled fields, and for that you clear the woods. So they changed the way of things. Sleds won't work in a heavy forest. Wheels, also not very useful. The world was very different to what it is today.
They had sledges, but you say they did not because they lived in a forest. But so how did they move
Rudimentary.
100-ton rock?
Well, that's the big question. And why? Because it would have been a major issue. Because to get those stones to Stonehenge, they're dragging it through a massive forest, which really is not easy at all. So,
Unless there was no forest.
No,
There was actually civilization.
No, there was definitely forest. I've been to places where you can see some of the original forest because it's never been cut.
Talking about that place was like Stonehenge is about what 5,000 years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of the old forests in England are truly old, and they're quite spooky. I mean,
There's not a tree that's like 5,000 years old.
There are...
So everything that lived back then didn't live when the Saxons got there.
No, but you can do geological testing and see what was down there, and you can see through the layers that there's definitely heavy foliage, by and large, that would have covered the area. And you can see by the way the forests developed later that, yeah, they had seeded and reseeded many times.
I'm saying that there was no wheels. I mean,
No.
how long does a wooden wheel last?
Well, I
Not
suppose...
very long.
But the people that we're talking about, by and large, were Stone Age type people. Their tools were mostly flint. They didn't have much in the way of advance. They were hunter-gatherers. They travelled light and often and moved around.
Somehow they had technology to cut stone out into big blocks and then move it.
And yet, yes, that's why Stonehenge is such a puzzle and a mystery. Why do it and for what? And we know that, okay, Stonehenge is a famous one. There are a good number of stone rings all over Great Britain.
Yeah.
So it's a very strange thing. We know it wasn't the Anglo-Saxons that did it.
I wonder what religion it was, because Jesus was only born 3,000 years later.
Well, that's an amazing question. The closest you will get to knowing would probably be through maybe the Celts and the Cornishmen. That's about the best you'll ever get. But yeah, very difficult to tell. So
That's sad.
it is. A lot has been lost. Because by the time that the Anglo-Saxons came, they brought their religion with them. So from there you got the elf.
They probably died out from diseases.
It could have been.
Maybe the Saxons was lucky and could slaughter some of them.
Absolutely. And whatever was left intermarried, and yeah, that's where that went. We know that the Anglo-Saxons had elves and dwarfs, dwergs and ilfs, which were semi-supernatural. Weirdly enough, were described very similar to the jinn. Except instead of being born of fire, they were born of air. So very similar in description, somewhat physical when they wanted to be, but often ethereal and not physical, able to cause disease, causing sickness by possessing you, same way, and you needed your charms and things to get rid of them. We know that in the Leech book, they say that you have to mix bishop water agrimony, Alexander and cockle, and put it into the water and give to drink to the one that is possessed by an elf. So they used a number of different things. There were also chants, because it was Galderkraft, spoken magic. So you had the herbal remedy, you had the amulet, and then you had the chant. And some of them were in fact recorded. So one such one was, may you be consumed as a coal upon the hearth, may you shrink as dung upon a wall, and may you dry up as water in a pail, as small as a linseed grain, smaller than the hip bone of an itch mite, and so small that you become nothing.
It's kind of intense.
It is pretty cool, isn't it? So yes, there was a whole ton of things in that regard, and they used all sorts of stuff. So Woden was the main deity. He shows up in the Nine Herbs charm, which basically is a discussion of the 9 herbs you have to know to do general medicine. And we know what those herbs are and how they work, and they really do work. And apparently they had quite a bit of knowledge whereby they knew how to deal with infections and even reasonably complex surgeries to deal with injuries and what have you. Bald in his Lech book refers to a way of doing surgery to cure a cleft palate. So they were apparently pretty good, the Anglo-Saxons. There were a number of different things used. Now, when we say leech book, we immediately think of the blood-sucking parasite, and that's not accurate, because the Old English lesh means a healer. It doesn't refer to the leech. So the lesh book or leech book doesn't have anything to do with the parasite. It means a healer's book. And Bald was one of the very, very first Christian monks to go out there to try to convert people, and he recorded all of these healing methods that they used, some of which seem to have a number of uses, if you will, that modern science needs to figure out, which is pretty cool. Now, of course, part of the problem...
You know a lot about the Saxons?
Well, it's been a point of study for me because it's my ancestry.
Okay.
Well, not anymore, but I was blonde and blue-eyed back in the day. Now I'm just blue-eyed. So
No,
yeah.
Something in, but it's okay. Just a link between aliens and Saxons, their culture, and have they ever talked about aliens? Has aliens or visited? Or?
No, and I'll tell you why. Not because they might not have seen such things or believed in such things, but rather because they would have immediately referred to that as an elf.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Aliens and okay, never mind.
They would have said either it was an elf, or it was a spirit, there were plenty of spirits, or it was one of the gods. So things are interpreted within the context of the belief they had.
But wasn't part of the stories came from them about dragons?
Absolutely. There were a whole ton, which we will get to. What's very interesting as well is these days we refer to the old Nordic religions as heathenism, and that's entirely incorrect, because a proper heathen comes from the heath, which is the Old English word. So a heathen is exactly what the old witches were. Whereas what we call a heathen, we should have different words for. We do know that there again, modern English twisting things, a warlock, which is what these could have been called as well, modern Wicca comes from the Old English warloga, meaning an oathbreaker, which is crap because it comes from the Old Anglo-Saxon brought over from the Nordics, vadloka, meaning a spirit singer, somebody who uses galda to deal with the spirits and the elves. So again, people got things wrong, in my opinion. We can argue. So yes, witches were good. They did good things. They could do bad things when they wanted to. And they absolutely had quite a lot of powers. They used a whole number of things. Its role in everyday life was important. You had your herbs for healing. You had your weaving for healing. You had your forging, which was magic. You had all kinds of specific ways to heal or harm, or not just predict the future, but predict the present. So we think of the runes as being a way of divining the future. Yes, they could to a degree, but far more important was that they were to predict the present. You wanted to know how the web of the weird lay. And that's what the runes did. They showed which was the flow of the current weird for you. So more important to know the present than the future. Again?
Yeah, I think it's actually, is it not Evoker?
I think I'm going deaf because I didn't hear any of that.
I said evoker.
Evoker. If you're referring to the magical term, an evoker, to a certain degree, yes. To evoke is to bring out. So I could technically evoke anger in you. I make you angry. But an evoker in a magical term refers to someone who calls things forth, whether it's a spirit or whatever. And that very much would be one of the talents of a witch. Very much so. They would need to be able to call out the elf to heal people. So yes, very much so. Along with that, of course, we need to know that the Galdercraft was only one part of it. And your cunning folk were the ones that did it. The Witcher was the old word, but as things went on, they became known as wise people, which is that Old English went into Middle English to Modern English, same meaning, and they became known as cunning folk. The other interesting thing is that music was... What do you mean? They look like you do.
No, I'm talking about the owls that you mentioned.
Well, they look like a lot of different things, dependent. Because they were magical beings, they could appear as people, but they were shapeshifters by and large. They could appear as what they wanted to look like.
So they were not goblins and trolls and...
They were as well. It was a whole mix of things dependent on how they wanted to look and what they wanted to appear as. And they didn't always appear in their normal form. So you would have things like a woodwose, which was like a humanoid tree. Think to a certain degree Tolkien's Ents. That's the woodwose. That's where he got the idea from for his Ents. But that's one kind. You had some that were pretty, some that were ugly. Some elves were goblin-like, some were trolls. Some were pretty and looked like people. It did depend. And out of that, you still see the echoes of it among the Celts when they talk about the fairy. Because just like that, you had a lot of different varieties. But I suppose in more ways, look to the Nordic people and their descriptions of all the spirits and things, because that's what the Anglo-Saxons started with, in a way. They were Chthonic people, and they brought that with them. And they used a number of different things in their things. So sympathetic magic, where what you do to one thing, you do to another. Comparative magic as well, which we saw in the charm. You are like the seed of the linseed. A linseed is a very, very, very small seed. So the comparative magic says that you will be like that, and then be smaller and smaller and smaller until you're gone. So comparative magic.
Are all elves humanoids?
No. Not at all. Not in the original. They were made that way mostly in popular stories.
I mean, all the creatures you mentioned, they all have arms and legs.
Well, yes, but by and large, you also have things like the Irish Kaishi, which is a cat. So animal things, tree things, humanoid things, all of that sort of stuff. Many bird things. The old you've heard of the magpie poem? 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, and 4 for a boy. 5 for a secret that's never been told, 6 for silver, and 7 for gold.
It sounds like the first time I'm hearing this.
Okay, so magpies were often considered to be elves, taking the spirits of the dead away, which is why even till today, certain Celtic groups, especially the Irish, if they see a magpie, they'll salute it.
Most people would think an elf it's a humanoid, but it has long ears. And
Yes.
That's why it's an
Thanks to Tolkien.
elf ears.
That's a Tolkien thing.
Okay.
So pointy ears, maybe. Some did, some didn't. It depended. But Tolkien made his elves out of old ideas, but he became so famous that it sort of retroactively became the standard of elf, in a way. Now, of course, we know that there was runic magic, and runic magic worked by cutting and staining in varying ways, binding and sending, which is a whole explanation that we don't really have time to get into with all the different ways you use runes. But you would be expected to know that. Casting is just a very small part of it. So absolutely. And then there were quite a few rituals as well. Thank you for that. Join my fan club. Yes, do that. Join my fan club. Absolutely. Thank you, Endless Thoughts. Many of the rituals involved dancing and chanting and singing. And I don't know if any of you have heard of the English maypole. Okay, so it survived into modern times where basically it's done in May. It's the coming of spring. It's a big pole with a whole ton of ribbons that are hanging from the top. And all the young ladies, the virgins, would have a ribbon in their hand and they dance, interweaving each other around and around and around. And the ribbons all become plaited down the pole, and it's very pretty. But it comes from the old rituals of binding away the winter to let the spring come and the sunrise and things to wind. So, yeah, it comes from older magic, but it's become lost. You also have the, what do they call it? The stick and bucket dance, which is what the men do, often at the same time, where you clack sticks together and bang on buckets and dance around, and usually it's done very, very drunk. But it comes from the original rituals that was to drive out the dark and send evil away. That's where they come from, but a lot of it's been lost, which is kind of sad. So things you probably will recognize, we've spoken of Galderkraft, which is the spoken magic. We've also, because of modern English, we know what witchcraft is. We just pronounce it a little different. There was also the Galdaleas, which is, Aleas is an incantation, quite literally, so spoken charms. Etterkraft, which were the black versions, poison, potions and sorcery to cause trouble. Leicester, which is a sorceress. A Libletha, which is the male. Leith, or lib, is the root word meaning a drug, something which causes confusion or sickness. We know that a Wiglian is the way of divining, and a Healthhelm, literally our modern word health comes from health, concealment, a helmet that allows you to hide from harm. So an enchanted helm to protect you and keep you healthy. So our modern word health literally means to hide from illness, to hide from the fairies or the elves or the dwerg that cause the sickness. A Tanhlesa is also somebody that does divining. So some of the words you can see modern echoes. There were a lot of charms that were recorded rather gladly, like the Aetherbrot for unfruitful land, to heal the land. One that is against the dwerg, to get rid of sickness. Against a wen. A wen is like a mole or a boil. So to cure that. Journey charms, bee charms, cattle charms. Cattle was very important. Water elf disease charms. So water elves are a bit like, well, they're very ugly. They're not your pretty water creature like mermaids or sirens. They're the ugly version that generally get you sick or drag you in and drown you.
Dear.
Burger Rockeforth, thank you for the follow there. I do appreciate it. And Jane Landerman as well. Awesome. Thank you, thank you. Always appreciate that. So there was a lot of interesting things. It also shows that there are certain letters. So, okay, if you draw the letter D, you've got a circle and a line, right? Well,
Yeah.
in Old English, there was a sound we don't use anymore, whereby you've got the circle, but the line doesn't go up, it goes angled and hooks back. And it's a Z sound. So you would have, for example, W-I-Z was with. We now use TH instead to make the with. Why do we not say with? Because the TH approximates the Z. We don't have that letter anymore. But they did. Just little things that show how it's changed the modern world, but they affected their writing, and the writing was magical, and that mattered. Now, the best source is the Leesboek. It was literally a book that was written, Bald habet hunc librum. In other words, Bald owns this book. So some monk called Bald owned this book, which was actually the Medicinale Angelicum. Now, it's written in Latin, obviously, and it is English medicine. So when he arrived in England, he wrote down all of these things that he learnt from the Anglo-Saxons. Mid-10th century, about there, and it includes 3 books put into one, of medical advice, recipes for medicines themselves, organized by parts of the body, and charms and magic as well. It's written in mostly medieval Latin with mixed in Old English. Now, if any of you have ever tried to read Old English, good frickin' luck. It's closer to German than it is to what we see as modern English. Very difficult to read. Now, what's really interesting is, amongst other things, there's an eye salve they've discovered out of it that is able to treat modern antibiotic-resistant bacteria. So some of the cures are actually really, really cool and most interesting. Some of them are really weird, like in order to get rid of developing what's it when you get that problem with your eyes? Old people get it, and it makes you start to go blind.
Cataracts.
That's a puppy. Well, the cure for that involves ground emeralds, amongst other things.
Oh.
Yeah, not the cheapest cure around. And sticking them in your eye might not be wonderful. Just saying. But there you go. So we found that one of the things that is a serious problem is Staphylococcus, which most modern antibiotics really struggles to deal with. But there's, in the leech book, a mix of onion, garlic, wine, ox gall, and some other things, and it successfully kills it all off. And you can literally recreate this and it works, which is pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
So sometimes the modern ways are not as good as the old ways. So yeah, you have your leech book, which tells you all about things, including plastic surgery, the recipe for dealing with a cleft lip and palate. But it also has a number of other bits and pieces in, not all of which I would suspect work so well. Chilblains were treated with a mix of eggs and fennel root. Not for you, Mickey, but for Spooky, if you ever have a problem with impotence, agrimony is the way to go. When boiled in milk, it will fix those who are insufficiently virile. There you go. They even had a remedy for shingles using the bark of 15 different trees. Aspen, apple, maple, elder, willow, sallow, myrtle, wych elm, oak, blackthorn, birch, olive, dogwood, ash, and quickbeam. And if you are a Tolkien fan, you will recognize that one of the names of the Ents was quickbeam. Well, it's a real tree. It's found in England, yes. So, yeah. Now, in order to be able to do things, you did have to have special tools as well. So obviously herbs, plants and roots were very big, and used for all kinds of things, both medicinal or magical. We know that you had to have a knife, usually a seax, which is the single-edged knife of the type that the Nords used as well. Everybody had one, so it was a common tool. But also needles, both for healing, cursing, using poppets, and more. Then you needed a thing called a distaff, which quite literally it's about 1 meter long, and it's a long stick with a certain carved handle thing at the one end, which is where we get the magic wand from. It was the distaff of a spinning wheel, because they used weaving for both cursing and curing and transferring illness. So if you were really sick, I could transfer the illness from you to a dog and let the dog die, and you would be okay, and the elf, thinking itself satisfied, would go, theoretically. So absolutely, the rock and farl in threading and weaving was important. Also cords were used, and we see this in modern witchcraft in your knot charm. By knot of 1 the spell's begun, by knot of 2 I direct it through, by knot of 3 and so on, and it's a knotted cord. And it's binding the spell in against a person. They used a more complicated one.
Right.
Again?
That time, money was already a thing.
Dude, when you lean back, I'm sorry, it's not you, it's probably me, I'm deaf.
right here.
I just can't hear, I don't know why. I think I am going deaf. Maybe I need my ears syringed. Say that again? Back then?
Money was a thing.
Money? No,
Yes.
not so much. Gold was, but not money. So usually payment was made in jewelry, rings, food, other supplies, and usually it was the chief's job to pay. So most witcher were wanderers. They would move between the small communities and
Looking for a pay.
well, for the work I did for you and your family and the families under the chief will pay me. But he will pay me if I've done it well. So you've got to be good at what you do. Which is another interesting thing. If it didn't work, you
So
didn't
it was
get
a
paid.
profession.
Oh yes, very much so. Absolutely a profession. Do you know what a cat's cradle is? Okay, so a cat's cradle, you take a loop of string, so a circle of string, right? And you hook it over your fingers and you can weave it into different things. And it was used for 2 things. One, it was used to tell stories where you create images in the string by the different weaving. And 2, it was used for magic. So cords, knots, cat's cradles, they were all used as magic and used for bindings, healings, charms, just like the modern witch's ladder.
Working together, and this is not that old, right? Because they already had advanced tools like iron food and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
melted gold into coins. And
the problem among the Anglo-Saxons in England was coins mostly came in later. Initially, it wasn't a big thing because people just didn't use it. They used barter. Either it was a made thing for decoration, or better, you give me something I can use. Good iron arrowheads, good iron knives, not swords, because swords were just too damned expensive. They were but spearheads certainly would have been the main interests in trade, because it was much wilder than the continent. Once things started to civilize and settle down, then money became more used.
okay.
So it was a progression.
They had bronze at least.
Oh yeah.
Bronze swords, bronze coins, probably.
But no, I would say iron. Iron was mostly brought by the Anglo-Saxons. The bronze would have been among the Celts before them. We know by the time the Anglo-Saxons came over, they did have iron. Maybe not the best iron, but they certainly had iron. So
Yeah.
decent knives. It was just hard to get and expensive. So if you had a good knife, you damn well kept it.
Well, they had iron, which was quite soft, but then they figured out how to make steel from the iron.
Well, you hear the stories among them, and I think we have mentioned him, the Ulfbert swords, which were famous across Europe and Britain. And in Ulfbert, he had obviously figured out the correct forging and tempering to make iron into steel, and his swords were known to have powerful magic because they were better than any other sword, and it could literally cost a kingdom to buy one because they were so much better. So yeah, not great iron, but it got better. But we are talking quite a bit of time.
Not that long ago. I mean, it's a long time ago, yes.
Since 600 AD. Long enough. I mean,
Well, the thing,
1500 years.
Today, it's things were moving a lot slower back then.
To a certain degree, yes, you are quite correct. Absolutely. Now, amongst other things, they did have cauldrons, and they were very important. A cauldron was important for all kinds of different things in a community, and an iron one would have been very, very important. You probably would have one or two per family at most. But they were used magically for brewing potions, holding water for scrying, burning incense and all the rest of that as well. And that's why we get the idea in the modern day of a witch with her cauldron. They were important in Anglo-Saxon culture, and it's carried through. We know that there were special things. Salt was always considered magical, but not just among the Anglo-Saxons. Many cultures felt that. Graveyard soil for specific things, sand, water from sacred wells, hagstones. Hagstones are stones that naturally have a hole through them. Funnily enough, I didn't get to show you in the last one. There's the sand. There's the sand I was given from the Kalahari. So yeah, I do have all kinds of strange things that I've gathered over the years, and has been given to me for whatever reason. Who knows
How
why?
was their relationship with the Asians?
The Anglo-Saxons,
Yes.
they never knew they existed, as far as I know.
Okay. So they would probably have thought that they were all witches because they eat with wands.
They probably would have been quite terrified of them as being very strange and untrustworthy things. Obviously, you have the Anglo-Saxon futhark. That was a very important thing, both for casting, for cutting, for binding, and all the rest. But then a number of other things as well. Everyday items that were then used in magical things. Wooden spoons were often used for cooking magic, which was quite important. When it came to enchanted items, helmets, shields, and swords were the primary ones. People just didn't have the money nor the metal for armor. It was too much, so you put it where it really counted. A good helmet and a good shield. And their shields were good. They made good ones, sometimes with a metal rim, usually cross-grained wood with a leather cover. So absolutely. and they were marked with bind runes. Then, as I say, the whole import is the weird. Everything comes off that. And you see it among the Anglo-Saxons, and you see it with the Nords. And there are certain symbols that show the entire web of the weird. 3 lines down, 3 lines across at an angle that way, and 3 lines across at an angle that way, making all the shapes that any rune can be written from. And of course, the weird is woven by the Norns. In Nordic literature, the weird sisters in the Anglo-Saxon and English. 3 crazy old women that one cards the thread of your life from the wool of reality, one spins it into cord, and the last one cuts it. So, yeah. So that was the main thing, and it connected to your whole existence. Now, they still had free will, because fate is not certain until it's history. It's not like the modern thing where you're destined to be in that way. It's just the most likely unless you change it. So you can change your destiny when needed. Okay, and it's fluid, it's not linear. And that is where sorcery works. Your magic works in that. So how do you spell it? How do you write it? Well, you would work it from weird is the Win rune, the Ir rune, the Red or Rido rune, and the Daeg rune. Werthan, really, if that makes any difference to anybody at all.
You can't show me that.
Let's see if I can still write in Anglo-Saxon. W, Ir, Re, Daeg. I would say that's about right. Let's see if that shows. No, it doesn't want to show. I don't think it's going to show at all. And it might not be dark enough anyway. Come in really close. Da-dun, da-dun, da-dun. It does not want to do it, does it?
Well, hold it at your chest.
I
Make
can
it
try
look like
that.
a ship.
If it's high enough. So, what's written there? Can you read it? Can you see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, that says weird.
Okay, looks like Egyptian.
Well, the first one looks a bit like the letter P, but it's a letter W. The second one looks like a Y if you've taken the middle line of it and carried it on up past the fork of the Y. The Rido looks like an R, and Daeg literally looks like a cross with the 2 outer arms joined on either side.
Those symbols look so familiar. I mean,
Our modern alphabet is related. So yes, they are very familiar.
it looks like symbols you would find right across the world.
Well, anywhere where the Chthonic people went for absolute certain, your Bluetooth symbol is written in runes. It's HB. That's what the Bluetooth symbol is, because it's named after Harald Bluetooth. who was a Scandinavian king who improved the lives of everybody by arranging communication between the different places by building decent roads. So he was the king that caused good communication, and they named Bluetooth after him in honor of that, Harald Bluetooth. So the Bluetooth symbol is HB. It's a bind rune.
Okay.
Yeah. So absolutely. We're almost done though. Now, what did they say you were made of? Well, it was more complicated among the Nords. But among the Britons, you basically had the body, the lek, where we get the word leech from in healing, and the soul, and something which was kind of like your spirit, the geist or the ether, which was made up of what they called shield skins. You had several of them. So you know how in India you've got the chakras? Well, instead of having points through the body like the chakras, they had shield skins, layers. And what we often think of as the aura in the modern view of it is based on the old Anglo-Saxon shield skins, which had different uses and contained your spirit within you. So if your shield skins became broken, you could become sick or even lose your body and then die. So it was important to keep your shield skins intact, to keep your spirit within. So yeah, there was quite a lot around that was very, very important. And when I learnt the herbal healing that I did, because the philosophy was based on the Anglo-Saxon, I've always avoided learning more than cursory stuff about chakras, because you cannot take chakras out of the Indian philosophy system. If you do, you lose their understanding. You must know all of it, how it works, because it relates. But it's the same with the Anglo-Saxon shield skins. Though they're very similar, they fit within a specific viewpoint that isn't the same as chakras. You can't match them. Though they fulfill a similar role, they are not the same thing. And that's why a lot of the modern Wicca, I think, is a bit flaky. But that's just me, because I'm horrible. Sorry. But you've always wondered why a witch has a familiar. And the answer is because of your fetch. You have a fetch, a spirit double, that is the other part of you. What Freud would have referred to as your subconscious self, or your alter ego in many ways. And it's the spirit of you. But you can meet your spirit, and it can appear to you in many ways, including as an animal. And the animal it appears as tells you a lot more about your hidden self. And so it's very important. And that got twisted by Christianity into being a devil or demon that you've got to give you magic from Satan. But originally, no, it is part of you, it's part of your soul, and is very, very important. And it has... Hey?
Do you ever watch the movie The Golden Compass?
I haven't seen the movie, I've read the book, but that is a similar understanding.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. The difference there is they have a physical creature, whereas this is a spiritual creature. You would usually meet in dreams or visions in that way. So yes, what did they believe in and how did it work? Well, you had your gods like Woden, you had your elves and dwarfs, but you also had wights. which were nature spirits, not good or evil, just powerful. And sometimes they got upset with you and would cause harm, and you need a sorcerer to get rid of them. You also had ghosts, the restless dead, which also might need to be dealt with. So that, and then, as I say, a musician was considered a kind of sorcerer. A skilled musician was seen as having the power to change minds, alter mental states, and create moods, and therefore that was sorcery, and could use sound to heal the mind, soul, and body, or inflict harm. So the lyre and the harp was considered to be an incredibly powerful magical instrument, and having the skill to play it was very valued. It also meant that, for example, you've read the story of King Arthur or seen the movie, and you had Merlin, the magician. Well, Merlin's teacher was Taliesin, the bard. So magicians were often musicians, which makes a very big change to how people viewed music and the importance of it. It was magical, and you used it in magical ways, which is pretty damn cool. And that, by and large, is about as short in one live as you can do for how Anglo-Saxon magic works. It obviously goes into a huge amount of depth, and besides the scholastic type things, there are quite a lot of books that you could read. The best ones are, in my opinion, any of the books by Brian Bates. If you're trying to understand the weird and the runes, you will not beat him. He was absolutely the best writer on that. You can, of course, read the Leech book and the Lacnuga and all of those, but you will struggle, even with a translation. You would have to know the 9 Herbs charm and the early Anglo-Saxon teachings on that. But there is quite a lot that is recorded. So it is doable. Now, what you didn't get among the Anglo-Saxons is any druids. They didn't have them. The druids were Celtic, which means that we will have to do something totally separate on the Druithin, and the Irish and the Scottish and the Welsh Druithin, and possibly even Cornish magic.
The creature you mentioned earlier, isn't that a druid?
No. A druid is a person who uses the magic. The woodwoes or the woodwights are spirits, but they would certainly be dealt with in certain different ways by the Druithin.
Have you ever spoken to your spirit?
If I ever seen a spirit?
No. Have you spoken to your spirit?
My own fetch? Yes. There are specific ways you can do it using what is called Eitzeta, which is a kind of outdoor meditation, but it does involve your changing.
Lots of people that claim that they communicate with their spirit while creating art.
Absolutely, that would have been very much in line with the Anglo-Saxon view of things. Whether or not people
a lot of things are called, even it's soul music, and I don't know,
music would absolutely be used to achieve the Eitzeta. Possibly certain hallucinogens Though I certainly would not approve of or would tell you do not do this at home, kids, because it might be bad for you. Just throwing it out there for the ticking of the talk. But yeah, obviously it would have been ones that are traditional to Great Britain, usually forms of mushrooms. There are not many safe plants of their hallucinogenic variety in Britain. Certainly poisonous ones, which I wouldn't advise at all, but mushrooms seem to be the way to go there. In good old...
No, but you get people that, but it's just clever wording. People that would say something like they've created this art piece through using their soul, or their soul. They connected with their soul to create the art piece. It's just wording. I mean, they didn't
I think
really.
it depends who says it. If you're talking to someone who is a weird worker, a witcher, then maybe they did. If you're talking about somebody who's just saying it because it sounds cool, probably not. The ability to connect to your fetch is difficult. It requires a lot of hard work, and I doubt very many people have ever gone ahead and done the whole thing. If you compare it to, say, the Amerindian sweat lodges, where, I mean, you could spend weeks being purified in the lodge, using special plants and things to achieve a higher state, drumming, dancing, weeks and weeks and weeks before you even start to connect to your totem.
Oh, I don't like that method. I mean, how do you know that you're actually connecting with your soul and you're not just hallucinating?
I suppose that's a matter of belief. Well, somebody says that they have an answer to this. Yolanda Skal, anybody know them?
No.
But let's hear out.
Okay. We will do good and see if we can add them. They have to let me follow them before I can add them. So I sent a request. If they reply, great. If not, well, they will have to then explain some other way, but we did send the invite. And we shall see what happens. I didn't know until I tried it that if I don't have you as a friend, you can't join my live. We have to have a following between us. One of us has to follow the other. So either I follow you or you follow me. If there isn't a following between us, then I can't add you.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't know. That seems to be the case. So I sent her an invite, but she has to let me follow her, or she has to follow me, before I can add her as a guest. Apparently.
Okay, she's back. She joined.
Maybe she went to do it. Let's see if it allows. That now it says she has been watching for 76 minutes, and she needs to resume the live to let me multi-guest her. But if she does, then I can multi-guest her. So it is doable. She has resumed, and okay, I don't know why. A multi-guest comes up and immediately goes grey.
Yeah, I don't think we can be guests.
Y. Oh, no, there we go. It worked. Okay, Yolanda, hi. How you doing?
Okay, she's a guest.
Hi, I'm well, thanks. How's everyone doing?
Good, good, good. So you can explain how to reach your fetch.
Not in so many words, but I'll try.
Oh, okay.
So I believe the greatest artists out there through trying times, and we all know that during trying times, such as times of war, or maybe a heartache, or we go through starvation where we don't have an appetite, and that is sort of, you can compare that to when someone is fasting, and when you deny the body of its need, your spiritual aspect comes alive because it wants to keep you you have to survive in a way. And when that happens, you are then able to be more in tune and connecting to your spiritual entities because your spirit is alive, because you have denied the body its dominance over ego. And so people who create art in that state of mind, that art form is not just a physical thing. It has been touched by one's soul, for a lack of a better word. And that is how Christ was able to have followers, because he was a spiritual being, if you understand me. But I believe he when we walk in spirit, we then are able to impart some kind of magic into the things that we put our effort into, such as creating art or healing, or if we are nurturing a family. So if you're a prayerful household, or if you are practicing what your forefathers taught you, then you are able more to preserve the things that you are creating. And so if you look at artists from the former years, such as Da Vinci, Mr. Leonardo da Vinci, he created his art during trying times. I mean, those times were sometimes during war, or, there was less comfort in the world than there is now.
Well,
So, and I think that if you create art and you go through meditation, or you try to isolate yourself from the distractions of life, then what you create is going to be mindful, and that brings value to your creativity.
well, we do know that, and as we know in this country that you cannot become an Isangoma without being called, and the method of calling is known to be through sickness and trial. We do know that in many cultures, that's exactly how you become some kind of a holy man or witch or whatever. It's through trial. And of course, within Christianity, the concept of the wounded healer. Absolutely, that is a staple in many cultures all around the world. So what Yolanda is saying does hold a certain amount of
I'm
experience to it.
guessing she's saying hallucination through dehydration.
No, rather to say that an enhancement of spirit through denial.
Yeah, that makes sense though. It really does.
To say hallucinations through dehydration would in many ways be a very one-dimensional view of it. And I suppose, look, if you don't believe in spirit in any way, that would be your response. But we know that a great many religions do use hallucinogens to achieve a higher level of understanding. do use fasting to achieve a higher level of understanding. And I suppose it's a matter of belief whether or not that is religiously valid, or if you think it's a load of rubbish. I mean, it's a matter of
Okay,
belief.
so okay, can I not to cut you, sir? Sorry, but I just want to also highlight the fact that our social behaviors have bombarded our senses because we indulge more than what is a normal sense of indulgement, whether it is the
True.
indulgement in happiness, indulgement in nutritional aspect sense. Because if you are hanging out with friends and you are not giving yourself time to be alone, you then measure your thirst levels according to how much you indulge in consuming liquids. And if you are with friends, obviously, and that is something you enjoy to do, it's going to be more than normal, more than what you would have indulged if you were by yourself. And this is why great Sherman and Buddhists retreat in isolation to
Also
be
true.
able to connect with what is natural. We as a world are overstimulated. We are doing
True.
everything to try to hide what we are supposed to heal by ourselves. And this is feeding into making money into pharmaceutical companies and all these other industries. And
I don't know what
so
happened
it's
to what. Yeah, absolutely.
so
What she's
yeah.
saying is true to quite a large degree.
Yeah, so to answer the dehydration, I'm not disputing your concern, but you must also try to take time to actually learn about your body. What is your dehydration markers? You know, you might say that you're hallucinating because your consciousness cannot stand the isolation from all the friends and family, and then you then link that to dehydration, but actually it's probably a distress from your psyche because you're so used to all the stimulation, you know.
That is a fair point. Look, at the end of the day, I suppose the bottom line is whether or not you believe it. And if you believe that we live in a purely physical, empirical, scientific world, none of these things can be proved, because what you don't believe in, we can't prove, type thing. It is belief, after all. And if you do believe, then you believe. But yes, I think you've raised a number of very realistic points as to how it works. I do know that 8 Setter is hard. It's meant to be hard. It does involve deprivation and chanting and more, and fasting and what have you. So on the one hand, yes, but it's not designed to make you fast so far that you're actually harming yourself and hallucinating, but rather, as Yolanda was saying, that it removes you from indulgence. It leans you out, if you will. So, yeah, I suppose it's a matter of belief. I mean, okay, let's put it like this. How could you prove the existence of God to somebody who is an absolute atheist? You can't, because they simply will not believe. If you say, but look
Well,
at the sunrise, they'll say, yes, thanks to the clash of the molecules in the air and the sun reflecting through it. It's got nothing to do with a God.
but what if you ask them, imagine a world, because we all know that the Ten Commandments gave rise to the now justice system. So imagine, ask
No,
the
it
person,
didn't. Absolutely, it
not
didn't.
in so many words, not in so many
Not
words,
even
but
in
a huge
any
impact.
words. No, it
I
didn't.
promise you,
It
I
really
promise you.
didn't. Our justice system in the Western world comes from the Roman pre-Christian legal system. I'm sorry.
Okay,
That one you're wrong on. The Ten Commandments only arrived much later, and they
okay.
they were
Thank you for that new
influenced.
knowledge.
But yes, they have had a big influence since.
Yeah. So if you ask someone if they can live in a world where there is no justice, where there is no all the aspects that come with religion of any kind, because God, there's one God, whether it's a God of Muslims, Christians, but I believe there's one God.
Okay.
And so that God is pro creation, pro love, pro life,
I would
pro
argue that as
security.
well. I would argue that
Yeah.
strongly, because God
You
has
know,
proved
never
not
mind the
to be.
sacrifices and no, never mind the sacrifices and the how do I don't want to say punishment, but I understand the atrocities that
God
exist
has done.
under a God state.
You mean like when God slaughtered all the children in Egypt
Yeah.
to make a point?
Yeah, or Noah's flood or whatever.
Yes.
I that is a topic for another day. I mean, that is something that we can talk about. It will probably take a whole night. But I
Absolutely.
believe that, yeah, I believe that if somebody is an absolute atheist, and then you give them a choice to survive in a world where atheism takes form and life, or in a world that we know as that has been influenced by religions, that person will probably choose the world that is
I would disagree, because the ability to live within a legal framework that allows us, even as a basic framework, as some of the early ones was, had nothing to do with religion. It had everything to do with the fact that I need to know that if I'm living next door to you, you won't kill me, and you need to know I won't kill you. So,
but how was that
legal-
fostered into the fabric of humanity? It is the elders over centuries
Yes,
putting
the
it
elders.
down.
God,
Yeah, the
God-
elders,
God
in
didn't
other words,
teach-
our forefathers.
Yes, but God didn't teach us that. That
Our
was
forefathers,
humanity.
our forefathers. I mean,
Yes,
you have to do the
forefathers.
research, but I believe our forefathers did believe in God. It doesn't matter,
I don't
like
say they don't
we
believe in
evolve.
God, but I
Yeah,
would
so
say
it,
that to claim that God fostered legality is, to me, it no. Legality
Where
does
do you
not
think
come.
morality comes from? Religion or
No, I think that morality comes from the true realization that is built into us, that the only way that we can live together is if we work together, and if we can.
but that didn't just fall off from the air.
So God
Let me
taught
tell you,
us. No,
the
God did
former
not. You know
human
what?
civilization.
I will tell you how we learnt God. God came to us and said, "You believe in me, or I will kill you." God showed us how he slaughtered the children in Egypt. God showed us how, when he didn't like the way people were living on earth, he sent a flood and killed everybody. That was not love, light, and law. God did not teach me nothing in terms of goodness. People, however, taught me. The way my mother looked after me growing up taught me what is love. No God. People.
Okay.
We
All right. Sorry.
created
Can
love.
I respond?
You may.
Okay. So the former human civilization was a civilization we would probably not be able to live with. I'm talking barbarians. I'm talking cannibalism. I'm talking about
I
war as a.
disagree. Not all of them.
I'm talking about war as a way of life. I'm
Christianity
talking about.
slaughtered people in
Wait.
the
Let me finish.
Crusades. Keep
Let
going.
me finish. I'm talking about a nation that believed that if you're a child with cerebral palsy, the Spartans believe this, you were thrown over the hill, okay?
That was a
Because you
survival
are
technique.
weakening. Yes, but this is what I'm saying.
But
We have done the research and realized that autistic children have so much more to
we have
contribute
learnt,
to
granted.
yeah, they have a lot to contribute to society.
did
They
not
can
teach
literally
us
change
that.
the world.
God didn't teach
Wait,
us that.
wait.
God
I'm
told
saying
Abraham
this.
to slaughter his
I'm
own
saying
son.
this. I'm saying under the point where I had initially said that the former civilization, we would probably, our civilization wouldn't have been able to survive in that civilization.
We did
And
though.
that civilization was one that basically their understanding of God was not as sophisticated as we
We learnt.
have learned to understand God, because of the patience of the
God,
spiritual leaders
nope.
that had they.
God never taught any of that. That was humanity.
He has inspired the current
No,
generation.
I'm sorry. The current generation, we're still at war. We still can't agree on any religion.
Yes,
We still
but
can't
much
decide whose God it
but
is.
much more civilized.
No, not really. We're just as bad. We just got bigger weapons and more cunning weapons. I disagree entirely. God has done nothing for that. If God is all that powerful, why doesn't he come down and say, this is the truth, there is one God,
He
it's me?
is here.
No, he
He's in
isn't.
each and every one of us.
Nope.
He is here. We just
Nope.
choose to ignore him or
Humanity.
not. But humanity is God's creation. He
Nope.
is in each. He's in our DNA.
Nope.
The behaviors that we practice every
Nope.
day, such as
Is not.
patience,
Nope.
kindness, love, it doesn't
If
necessarily.
I
Okay,
practice
can I
what
can
God
I
had, no,
explain
no,
how
wait, let
you?
me finish. If
Okay,
I
sorry.
practice what I've seen God did in the Bible, I would slaughter you if you don't believe what I do. I would wage war as God's command against any other culture. I would kill my own children when God deems it's necessary. I would say anyone that does not believe must be executed. It's in the Bible, it's in the Quran, it's
What
in.
about the New Testament? Because you can't just quote the Old Testament. That
It,
rage that you're talking
no,
about,
no,
that
no,
was in
no.
the Old Testament.
I'm sorry. There is one Bible. In the New
Yeah, but it
Testament, do
evolved.
not. No, people evolved.
No, the New Testament talks
Did
about
God
Jesus
evolve?
Christ.
Did God evolve?
Yes, he did. He gave us
No,
his
God
son,
is
Jesus
eternal and
Christ.
single. According, why
He
didn't he do
did.
it? Why didn't he do it thousands of years ago? Why did he wait?
Because
So
he didn't,
everybody must die first. Then God made us
because
badly. If God made us badly, he's not a true God or
not
he's a
us,
bastard.
not us, the
Yes.
generation that he
They
destroyed.
are us.
They,
We are the ones that
spiritually, yes,
he
but
made
they
us
are
wrong
part of
from
us.
the beginning. God is
They
at
are part
fault
of us.
and must be
Any
blamed.
great parent will
God
punish their
is at
child.
fault and must
It's
be
human.
blamed. No, no, God's supposed to be perfect. He's supposed to have made us correctly and he failed. He
He's
is
so
an
perfect that he gave us
insufficient
free.
God.
He's so perfect. He
That's
gave
an
us free will.
excuse. That's an
Which God, if
excuse.
you can go anywhere and you go into a kingdom,
He
and you
made us
will not find a king
wrongly.
that will give its people free will.
I didn't say they would. All I'm saying is God did it badly. He's clearly not a good God.
Okay, so I don't want to turn your platform into a Christian apologists platform,
By the way,
but
just
I really,
pre-warning,
yeah,
I have 2 degrees, including theology. I was fully trained as a
yeah.
priest, and I was taught these arguments and how to deal with them. So I'm being
And I
unfair.
really do appreciate
I'm being
being
I have an
unfair
learned.
because
argument.
I can argue this.
I have an argument.
Yes.
So a lot of what she said is a fact.
Religion did help us evolve morals and
Okay.
through social structure. And religion plays a big part
Oh, it does.
of our
In real
evolution.
life, it does.
Yes, okay, religion, probably not faith, not God per se, but
But my argument that I'm getting to, because, well, I'm being a bit of an arsehole in doing it, I will be honest, but we develop our laws humanly. And we really, and this is my point, we ascribe too many things to God that we should not, because it is useful to absolve ourselves of things wrong, and it's useful to support our arguments, which, strictly speaking, we are avoiding arguing correctly. And what I'm getting to ultimately is we are avoiding the fact that we have a duty first to be human. Religion is secondary. And if you don't believe me, go and look at the Ten Commandments. How many of them refer to God? 2. All of them refer to being human. You've got to be a human first. And if you can't be a human first, religion don't do you no good at all. No God will save you if you cannot be
Okay.
human.
Can I add to that?
You may.
Okay. So you are highlighting the fact that you got to be human first, and part of being a
Yes.
human include aspects of being humanitarian and what is all this charity and
That is arguable,
empath
yes. Absolutely.
empath and also
Yes.
dealing with human suffering, and that is the basis of who we're supposed to be, because you can't go forward leaving your pack behind. We have to work together,
That
pull
is
each other
arguable,
forward.
yes.
So to be able to do that, you have to have a foundation of where your good faith comes from, because you will encounter people who are so against humanitarian acts, and these people have been abused for so long, and these people
Okay.
have
Is it,
given up on they've given up
but
on
again,
on any light shining in their
are you
lives.
not good enough
And
in and of
being human,
yourself?
sorry, let me finish.
Okay.
So being a human being, as you say, you have to be, I believe you have to have a foundation of good spiritual upbringing.
Okay, no,
Yes,
fair.
the money can help. We've seen Bill Gates and all these humanitarians do it. And
I
I'm not judging anyone. But I'm saying, if you just being a normal human being and you want to help someone, it helps to have a
it helps.
foundation
It
based on
helps. It is not
God
necessary.
and or whatever God, like it could be Allah, or it could be, but
Granted,
the spiritual aspect is important, because the people you come through are people who are living in a dark
it's
place.
useful, certainly. But I
And
put
the
it to
hope and
you
the
that
faith
God is
that you
not
need to
enough.
be able, the faith and the hope that you need to be able to get someone out of a dark place.
No, the
That is not
humanity you
something
need.
physical.
Faith does not heal you. Humanity heals you.
Both of you are.
Humanity heals, but if humanity heals, I believe that, right?
Okay,
But
Yeah,
hold
but
on,
what
hold
is
on, hold on.
humanity?
Spooky.
okay.
You look at humanity as the norms now, but what humanity was a couple of years ago is different.
100%, that is true
The
as well.
social structure has changed. Morality has changed. What?
Also true. As we well know, Jesus did not say slavery was bad. He said, just be nicer to them. It's in the Bible. We know that. So it's arguable. And there is a lot to consider. But that said, we are nearly an hour over our time for tonight. And you've been very, very patient. And poor Mickey is like, yeah, you guys are now talking too much. But
I'm
nevertheless,
listening. It's interesting.
I'm glad you're finding it interesting. But we will have to continue tomorrow. There is a great deal to consider, obviously, and the role of religion is something that does need to be considered. How important it is, how important spirituality is, not with reference to any specific religion, because we're not going to upset anyone or to tell anybody they're right or wrong, but the role of religion and how it affects us does need to be considered. And we talk of a lot of these early things as witchcraft, but to be fair, they weren't. they were the pre-existing religion. Just wasn't what we have now. As Spooky says, we've moved on. So there is a point to spirituality in some form, which we will get to, but we can't tonight. So with that said, we must offer big thanks for all the gifts from Yolanda and Endless Thoughts and Mickey, who sent some very nice ones. Huge thanks for all the likes. We're at 9K tonight. Good Lord. Clearly a good argument is well appreciated by everybody. We will come back with more. Now, we did promise Spooky that tomorrow's live, however, is going to be on the AI basis, which might tie in how much spirituality is in AI, or could it have it? But we will come back with all of that and argue that as well before we carry on with the general theme. So yeah, I invite you all back again tomorrow. I hope it is going to be a good one. But until then, thank you so much, Spooky, Mickey. Endless Thoughts has gone off, but thanks to her. And thank you, Yolanda. And we will see you absolutely in the next one.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Awesome.
Bye.